did a video yesterday and I just had I got through it all and I was explaining whatever I said I was going to explain, which is, I think I said I was going to explain some gamma, and then I realized that even though I was explaining the lines, I wasn't naming them. Anyway, here's a video about going through the end of the tickers today, and I'll try and get into do some gamma in it as well. So here I'm looking at Lee Motors, one of the big car motors, probably one of the biggest car makers now in the world because they're taking over so much of the market. We're looking at this is reactive liquidity here, the DPI. We've got quite high IV, which means that that's probably what's causing this price to increase, is that it's a heavily traded stock at the moment, so the market makers are having to reach for the ask. If we look at here, this is the longer dated stocks. We can see there's quite a lot of delta hedging in, and we've come from quite a low place in 31st of Jan. Let's go back down a little bit in the 50 plus delta. That's where I look for traders. I know there's traders in lots of places, but you can't look for them everywhere. So we can see here by about the third that the positions went from 70 to 20,000. So if we go to the third here, it's about here. It's about here that the change is made, and we lose a lot of that delta hedging. So Lee Motors is ready to be long. If I'm just going to pull the daily over so I can report on it. So amber to greenish, tightening liquidity, strong long DTE, open interest in calls, closed, hedging. We'll just have a quick look. This is Neo. We'll get back to Neo in a second. We just want to look at Lee and get it finished. I hope that I'm loud enough. So here, looking at Lee, there is still quite a lot of heavy hedging there that needs to come off. It is getting washed out, but it's just bouncing around. And while we're in this bouncing around area, while we're in this price, before it breaks, I think it's going to continue to bounce around there. Oh, good to see Harry's there, checking that I'm on. Alright, I'll just check that I've got the video rolling. Yep, I've got the video rolling. Is it rolling on the right place? Yes, it's rolling on the right place. Thanks, Harry. So Lee is not quite green just because of this bit of hedging, this short dated hedging that we were just looking at here. These are puts, and that's quite high, and this looks discretionary. You know, there's only 6 in that one batch, and in this batch here there's about 25, 30. But that definitely looks discretionary. And if we just go and have a look at where Lee is, Lee's had a really good charging for quite a long period of time here. It's really been charging up, and the heavier periods have been shorter and shorter. Yeah, look, that's in the 30-minute zone, but if we change it into the 4 hours, we can see as it went through that bottom there, it's been quite heavy a couple of times. It has a build there, but now we've really started to see this build. Some of that is reactive, and this is reactive too. This is just loosening as it rises, but it looks like to me it's going to continue to rise. Once it breaks this little flag, off it'll go. So let's just get down to Neo. I was going to write Rio, the big Australian English miner. Actually, they're everywhere. So they're listed on lots of stock exchanges, including the American. So this is Neo. So Neo still quite heavy, and that's what has really been holding it down. We can see that there's quite a lot of playing here out wide in the heavy, in the longer dated, and if we look in the shorter dated, it's really started to lift. So I'm going to go long Neo today. If we just have a look where Neo is in the charts, Chinese and commodities, Neo. If we just look where it is in the charts, it's really, during this period, it's really tightened up. It's ready to take off. I know a lot of you took a position. I wasn't quite ready to take a position on the weekend, but this is worth staying long, coming into earnings. Got a good earnings. A lot of these other stocks are probably a bit overblown. XPEV, yeah, look, it's a bit of everything. Cars, batteries, and you can just see this price since I started watching it. The price has gone from 13 to 16, so it's up about 30%. It is a wild ride. You have to be ready for a wild ride, but you can see we've had a strengthening period too. So maybe just a single leap, and so it's, or maybe two, just because the price is very low. But these three, I don't know about JD. I don't know enough about it. But again, JD, it doesn't want to come up. JD is just starting to dip down into liquidity again. It's had a good basing here, and coming into the earnings in March, it looks like it's only going to go up. You look at this building period here; it's just been immense all the way through the bottom. It's been big. All right, so. That was just Neo. Neo's ready to rock and roll, so let's just put that in there. I think that already. I'm going to put amber to green, strengthening. Oh, doesn't like me. What's happening? Strengthening calls and short. DTA hedging, closing. XPEV has gone back to amber. We'll just do a quick have a look at the short dated on it. XPEV. XPEV. It's still quite. Look, it's probably still red, isn't it? We've got a little bit of green coming in there. It's really just that bounce that's made it a bit greener. What did it really say if we go in close? God, my internet's slow today. Yeah, look, I can just see through this whole. We've really had some strong buying in there, and again we've had strong buying during Friday's session. So look, that looks pretty strong, unless we had a big pullback, and we haven't. It's sitting pretty flat. What are we doing in the Aussie one? No, I can't see it there. So yeah, look, I think XPEV is going well. Sorry, XPEV is a bit flat, but even though it's tightening, maybe those are sold calls. Look, that's heavy, isn't it? Anyway, we're going to put it to greenish, just because that liquidity was so good. Greenish with very strong liquidity. The other thing about it was, let's have a look at the DPI. DPI is really following. This was very toppy. This is a bit toppy too. Through the center here, it's been showing a good buy, but that's probably, that's the reason you wouldn't go green, because it just hasn't had a huge one. And so we're just going to put DPI. Following price, and a bit toppy. Now I really like Inter. As soon as it's had a pullback, I mean, this is a long play. So Inter's, it's had a lot of tightening there, but if you can see relative, it's had some profit taking for the weekend, but it's really tightened up on the week. We did see that price pullback in it. I don't think that there's anything deadly in that. But we can see it's just been getting looser and looser. So look, it's probably is just holding a bit red at the moment. Let's just see what is it in? Is it being caught in a high volume node? Let's just look out a bit further. Or is it just getting close to that gap? Just doesn't like the gap. Yeah, look, it has really come out. Doesn't look drastic, but it's definitely that ambrish went to amber. Liquidity and hedging increasing. increasing. Then I can't remember who asked me about buying. Let's have a look where it's going. I can't remember whether it's coming into an earnings or not. Can't actually remember what it is. Someone asked me about it on the daily. Yeah, look, it is coming into an earnings. It looks pretty loose where it's sitting, but it's had this incredible charge. So this is a reactive charge here, and the way we can tell that is we've had a price drop. That's reactive, and it's bounced around, but this here, this is a real build. And so if we went and had a look at buying, it's not that heavy at the moment, but it is heavier than where it's been. It's not very heavily traded. But we've definitely, since that peak there, you know, we've pulled off 10,000 odd, even more. Yeah, 10,000 positions have come off since it hit this top. That doesn't mean much, but especially after you've been that tight for that long. Let's just have a look at a closer one. That's just without changing to the weekly modifier. Yeah, you can just see that it's got a bit red on the edges. We really would need to see it drop. And you're going to see that drop in the hedging before you're going to see it anywhere else. God, the internet's slow here today. So, there's nothing very exhilarating. I mean, the DPI is high. It's up in the 40s and 60s. It's not as though it's in a low position. So it's continued that. And it's very long, really. This is just delta hedging. It's had a bit of a reduction over the weekend, but not too much selling. So I'm a little bit on Byron. I'm still out to amber at the best on that. I'm going to put it at amber. Oh, let's just go back. Control Z. I'm going to put that to amber. Loosening liquidity and loosening liquidity and short-dated hedging, DTA hedging, longer calls strong. I think I've called it long. I can pretty much assume that this is pretty long, even though it's only in the short part of a bottom here. If we just have a look at the build in the stock, it's just been incredible to one side. This is hedging that would get removed very quickly if this stock bounced. I wouldn't call any of that discretionary. When's this? The 4th? Oh, maybe that's discretionary. So there's a couple of hundred in discretionary, but not that much. Alright, so that's Byron. Longer calls stronger. Tempress. Him screaming. Now, yes, this is reactive, but it's being the ask is really being chased here, which is just tightening it. If you're wondering why it's going down and the price is going up and why it's not losing, it's just being chased. But that being said, that if that turned, it'll turn sharply, and we can see here in TEM. Is this still short dated? Yeah, in short dated. Yes, this is very light. It's light hedging compared to how strong it is in the calls, but if we just pull it back, say to 0.3, let's just see how many. And 0.3 is not a big swinging in a day. Let's put it back at 0.25. Yeah, look, it's still pretty strong, isn't it? It's just been moving so fast. It had a little bit of a weak period, but it's really taken off again. See, we had a topping in DPI, but it's just gone again. I actually hopped out here. I just thought, didn't like the topping. Didn't like a couple of these jumps. But it looks to me like it's off to the races again. TEM, amber to green. The toppy DPI's gone, so we're going to go green. DPI strengthened. Strong. Open interest, and not too much hedging near the surface. Alright, Siri. I was tempted to go back into Siri, but I just thought I'd see what happened for a little while. It's got a bit of hedging there, but it looks like it's just blown it away, hasn't it? I probably shouldn't have hopped out. I suppose it's about getting to know what you're trading, and recently we've been trading lots of different things, and you just don't. See, that looked like it had quite high gamma, but it's real. These buy signals were just fantastic. It's had a really good build there, and then a little bit of topping, which is what I think put me off. But it's just so strong, even though there's a bit of profit taking and rolling. When I say profit taking and rolling, that's people just rolling out for a better, take a bit of profit at the same time as their next position. And you can see there's not, again, that's up down at 0.2. There's nothing under the surface on it. So it's strong. So you can stay in that pretty confidently that it's green. So I think that we're going to knock that back to green, amber to green. To green. Good DPI. Wasn't that strong, but it was good DPI. OI is strong. What did we have a look at liquidity? I didn't have a look at liquidity. Liquidity. We're coming from a very low place. You can see it's a little bit toppy, but it's started to drop again. So this is one of the other things that put me out. Just we really got into a top, and then it's dropped. It's tightening again. So it's not dropping into liquidity. It's not reactive. This is accumulative. This is coming from that little bit of DPI that we saw there. And I suppose it's just going to keep chasing down, and it'll be chasing the ask. And you know, if it gets to the top of this, high volume node here, there's really not a great deal in close proximity for it in volume nodes. We really have to get up into here before we're going to see a lot of volume nodes. Yeah, look, there's a bit there. Maybe that'll slow it down a bit, but that's another 25% away. Almost, no, it's not. It's 50% away. Half of that, not 50%, 35% away. It's a long way. It's a long way above. So liquidity has been kept relatively tight in this latest run. That was reactive liquidity. This was buying liquidity. We saw strong DPI there, and a couple of times strong DPI before that drop. And are we going into an earnings? No, we're past earnings. Alright, so yeah, and then let's go and have a look. RX exploded on Friday. Just when I downsized. I was talking to someone, they downsized to I do apologise, I can never remember names. I've got here RX Recursion Pharmaceuticals. Now DPI will always look a bit toppy when you get that so much of a squeeze. It's really squeezed. And look, it does look a bit toppy just because it hasn't been traded. I don't think, let's see, is there a split in it? You have to check for splits when you're thinking about gamma ceilings. It's never really been traded in options that much. Even if we go back to the start of 24, the options were light. You can see in this price here, they were light. So it's really just fired up now. And this tightening is really got to do with this gamma here. So it's tightening because the market makers are just being absolutely flogged to take out positions against the number of options that have been opened in it. And you can just see it's had this tightening IV, little bit of loosening, tightening IV. really pushing it to explode, and it's exploded. Oh, I'm so angry that I downsized by 40%, 60%. I think I went from, I don't know, a couple of grand in it to, well, 4 or 5 grand to one. Anyway, you live and you learn. It looks fabulous, and that's because it's just blown all of this out of the water, and this has rolled up. So we may well see a pullback today, but it's at the moment it's looking strong. Green, I'm not going to say anything more about it. I don't think it was continued. I think it was continued from the day before, being amber. So Amplex, Ampex, Imperious Technologies. If you have any tickers, as you usually do, you all ask. Just ask. I'm always happy to do them. I think Imperious got flogged actually. Or maybe it just started to bounce back, but I was in it. I traded it up for a little while. It's got a great flag forming, but it's just bouncing around. Oh, it's only come back a bit. We had some good DPI. Excuse me, yawning, and we've had some tightening liquidity there. But it's a bit heavy in there. But look, it's only a tiny little bit heavy, really, in the scheme of things. If you look at this is incredibly strong. Yep, a little bit's rolled off. That's probably a lot of these are probably sold, but it's only a little bit that's rolled off compared to what we're seeing. That's opening. So look, it's almost a goer. I just watch it on the shorter time frame. You can see that it's at quite a loose section at the moment. But that could, this is tightening. This is not. So this is buying. This is a little bit loose. Now this is tightening. That means that the market makers or someone is reaching for that arse to try and buy. So I think that's moving back into a greenish sort of position. So I think we can go to greenish here. Greenish, tightening liquidity, tightening liquidity. ZS. I don't know if I'm still in the ZS. I thought it was not nice. It was the nutty RFJ Jr. Robert Kennedy Jr.'s in his portfolio. Oh, ZS, not RS. ZS. Did I put R? No, I put ZS in there. There's my dyslexia at work. My fingers know better than my brain. Then I might just go back. I think I was going to look at Neo. That's what I wanted to look at, and we might just have a. So that's what I call topping DPI. So it's risen, but is that topping because it's just got to here, or is it just about to break? That does look like topping DPI, and if we have a look here, it has generally got heavier. There's not a great deal of profit taking, but we've had quite a lot of extra moving in, and that can be seen here too, but it's not heavier. And that's just because this period before it sharpened up here and jumped up, it was really just stuck in a groove. There was a really good charging event here. Through this climb, it really just charged. And then from here, this is not charging, this is just chasing the bid. But when it's got to the top of this high volume node here, it looks like it's a bit stuck. So what were we at? RX green. Maybe it's, oh no, ZS, amber to green. Maybe it's amber again. Amber, new DTA hedging. I just think I'm going to put in new hedging because I think there's a bit of hedging coming across. Hedging. Now this one started to fly again. This was my recent pick in the rockets, and I just think it's just about to blow out of this area that it's got stuck in. I think the rockets may have another go. I want to go and have a look at Neo. See, it's just really started to pick up, even though it's really heavy. There's just so much. There's barely any option that's not in the money there. And if we go and have a look, this here is just very heavy delta hedging, but it's just being blown away, and that's just market makers looking for, or dealers or owners just looking for somewhere where they can lay something off. I wouldn't have thought this is sold. This was this hole that I thought was appearing. You know, we're up in the 70s, we've come back down to the 60s, but it seems to have picked up again in its price then and had a bit of a bounce. DPI isn't topping, it's come from topping, it's burning off again. What did we have it at? Red to green. Yeah, it went very quick. So I'm going to leave it at green. I'm just going to leave it at green. I don't think there's a lot more I can say on that. Oh no, I suppose I could say DPI is good. I think that's probably one of the reasons I think it's green. DPI behaving. Following price. DPI following price is a good sign. I mean, if it's going down, it means it's hedged. I hope you're one of the people that's hedging. Where are we up to? BB. We're almost down to the bottom of these. BB. BB's been just crazy, hasn't it? Look, it's really got heavy here. I haven't looked at its price. I didn't see what it did on Friday. Still up there. But as you can see, as it's just got looser and looser. This is now at the top of its band, and let's just have a look at that. Has it got? It doesn't have an earnings for ages. It's at the top of its band, so it's as tight as it's as loose as it's going to get. And it's not topping DPI because we're up here in the. We're up at 43, but it is toppier than it's been, and that's negative. We've also got this very high DPI, a very high gamma. That is part of a product that hasn't really been here before. You look at the price compared to the gamma at the moment, but BlackBerry's really just screamed into this. But the gamma is now the same as twice the price. Is that one of the reasons that it's roaring? Anyway, I don't think it's changed much. It's green, high gamma, hedging creeping in. I'm going to try and do another one of these on Thursday at the close. If you would like to come along and join in, we can discuss anything. So we can discuss more about the liquidity and how to read liquidity. There's about 6 actions that you've got to work out in it to be accurate at it. A lot of the time it's coincidental, so it's happening at the same time as price movement, and that's what you would expect with liquidity. But the turns in the day, usually you can see the liquidity turning before you get the price turning. Not usually, nearly every time you can see that. Bit of a buy signal here in the bottom. Wookie Face or someone really like this, I can't remember. Or Captain. I'm terrible, but I can't remember anyone's real names. What are their real names? Anyway, someone liked it. That's why we're here, I suppose. Let's look up Captain. I can't find which captain it was. Captain someone. They're not appearing in my names. Alright, so this does look good because it's had a good buy signal. There's been a little bit of extra DPI as it's gone through there. There's just nothing left in the hedging. There's not a lot of trading in this stock, so it's really hard for me to say anything apart from sort of looking at the liquidity. The option positioning looks green. It's coming from quite a big pullback. there's no reason for this tightening liquidity here, but as we see, it wasn't a hugely tight piece of liquidity. This is reactionary liquidity here. This is a little bit of buying. This is reactionary. So we can probably see this is the most causal liquidity we've seen. I think that's just a continued, really. I swapped out of the Qs today and a NASDAQ product in Australia, just because there was some funny stuff going on in several of the proxies ETFs, and I just rolled over to SPY because and sold the VIX instead. There was just it's really hard sometimes picking which out of all of the instruments to go with, and if the VIX is red, I just go. It's just easier to go with the VIX. What was the next on my list? LPSN light. What's it called? Live person. I think this has been looking really good again. Again, I can't remember quite whose play it was. These are just disappearing because of it's moving again, I suppose. Live person. What's the liquidity looking like? Oh no, it got hammered on the second half of the day. So you can just see in here that this liquidity has been following the price, and so when it follows the price, that's when I say, well, that's obviously when we see this, it's following the price. So it's gone down and tightened as this price has risen, and then it started to drop and it's following the price. So it's fallen into a much more illiquid place. Just a bit like this did, it's fallen into a liquid place, and then we've had a bit of upside. Can't see anything in the shorter stuff there to say that we've had a big build. We've definitely haven't had a big build anyway through here. So it's back to sort of orange, almost going red if you see it looking on the 4 hours. Where was I, Amber? Strong DPI. So it had strong DPI. Yeah, which is sort of continuing, as it's taken off again. So it's got strong DPI, which is correct, but I think it's almost a reddish. It's a reddish with loosening liquidity. And then we're down to FCX, which I got really burnt on the last couple of days. That pullback in copper, I mean, I don't only follow data, I don't follow all the news. It's just, there's too much news to work out what is relevant. But if you look at the, if we look at the copper metal exchanges, there's just no copper on the floor. Did it change on Friday and I just didn't see it change? No, it's just got tight, and that's the 12th. Maybe I just haven't. 12th ages ago. Yeah, look, there was a stiff bounce on Friday. God, that's a stiff bounce. No wonder the price got absolutely slaughtered. It's the stiffest bounce. It's got back up to the end of January. It's gone back 3 weeks in the number on the floor. Oh, I'll have to tighten that up tonight. Just let me write that in my book. Just excuse me. Go back to my manual. FCX, Freeport Mines, tighten to 50-50. I'm going to keep it. So a 50-50 is a straddle, and I want to keep in a position there. And one of the things to force yourself to stay in a position is to stay in the options rather. And you know, you can stay long, but if you stay in a straddle, you'll turn it at either end, but you're not going to lose it in the turning if there's a bit of bouncing at either end. You can see these guys haven't moved. I wonder what has given it such a hard turn. DPI is a little bit toppy, not that toppy. But you can see they sort of expected it as they've gone through here. But we're only talking, there's only 50 positions in there. That's not huge. It's 2,000 in that. Here we can see it's really wiped out the center of the trading. So maybe I should be expected for a bigger turn. Also, there's a bit of selling out of the money. So this most likely sold calls out here. I wouldn't say they've really tightening up that bad. What did I have it on? Amber to green. I don't think there's any green in that. Amber to red. Profit taking or rolling of calls. Yeah, the honest situation is, I say to all of you guys who are in the DIY, is learn to read the VIX and just play the VIX as your. Don't hold the market. Play the VIX. The VIX is a much easier thing to play the market. You don't know if the market's going to move. Rarely the VIX doesn't move. It's usually dropping, especially if you're selling a future. Inherently, because of the theta and the options that build them, it's going to go down. So if you're selling futures or a CFD, or it's going to go down. You really only playing a 50-50 game if you're in the options, because you will get caught by gamma and in the longer data ones by Vega. So the options keep on burning, or if you're going to hold a position, hold it in the VXX or UVXY or UXVY or something like that. Something that am I saying that the wrong way around? Oh, I don't even have it up there. UVXY. See, they just have this inherent. Yes, we haven't seen it for a while, but they have this inherent theta burn. They're just going down, and if you can trade the blips that go up, you're going really well. Yes, this flat is caused by the auction, by the election, and by the chain. So here's the election, and then we had this huge sell, and again we've had a little bit of a bite there, and now it's sort of sold off a little bit. So it's just going down. I'm short on it at the moment. It's down 1%. If we go and look at the Nasdaq's moving. I should have stayed in the Nasdaq, but anyway, you're better to be safe than sorry. So I've gone safely. I've gone with the SPX and Aussie dollar. I've hedged the dollar just because the Dixie is still looking. It's looking loose here. You know, you might say that's coincidental. I don't think it's coincidental. You can see it started from here and it started to head up in that 4 hourly, and if you traded in any shorter time scale, you can see that. And if you go out and you look at it in a longer time scale, you can just see that it has just been coming up from the bottom for a while. It had this wonderful build, then it didn't know what to do for a while. It got stuck in the center. It's tried to build again, and it hasn't. It's shot up and got a little bit looser. It's had another go at it, but it's just loosening now. It's just loosening. Yep, it's come from a high place. I don't know what the next levels are. There is a couple of things that I usually listen to on weekends, but I've been steering clear of listening to other people because I don't want to get confirmation bias. But I would say that we're just about to drop into quite a tight level here. We're going back into this, and that's timely because we're just going into Apex week, so it'll probably hit the center of this. It'll hit the center of this volume node here. And it'll probably just hit the center of it at 105 and bounce around for a while, because these are very strong. That's a very strong volume node. But anyway, it's going to give us a little bit more down before we see that. Let's just where we were before I started talking garbage. So that was the FCX. I think I got it in there. FCX, profit taking, rolling calls. And then grab. I put grab in there. Someone asked for grab on the weekend. Silent pigeon, or someone asked for it. I'm sorry if I pointed you to our website. I just didn't want the discussion, because I know that J-Roll and that don't like the discussion in there. They asked me to keep it to a minimum, apart from helping people with stuff for his. So these sort of things, if you're asking me them directly, you can ask them to me in Naked Delta. Again, if you're asking about any of our data, ask me in Naked Delta, just so they don't get the shits with me, thinking that I'm trying to steal their customers or something that we're not trying to do. We're very happy in their trading with them all. We wish they would do some more marketing for us, because we hope that we help them a lot with their product, and I wish they could help us with our product, without the fear that I'm some ruthless bastard. I'm a good Buddhist. I'm just in this because I enjoy it, and I think it's pretty good fun. And while you're a full-time carer of parents and children, men, boys, you need some way of keeping your brain going, learning some new tricks, and making sure that you don't live in poverty when you get old. So I'm just going to dump that. Did I say I was going to do something else? I did. What did I say? I won't dump that. I'll just leave that for a second. I said I was going to just look at Neo, and I suppose I could look at Mara too. I don't know if that was the one I said I was going to look at, but I was just trying to work this out the other day. We've come through these periods where we're just not getting, we've got this tightening here that is not associated. That's the nice thing. This tightening here is not associated with price. We saw that here too, but it was more associated with price. So that makes this a buy. It does have very high gamma compared to its history for where it is in price. That is also the nature of the whole stock market now, and that is because the option is really the vehicle that we all trade now, and the price is just showing us what's happening with the underlying. So this shows us that a lot of people are in it, but we know that with high gamma there is more delta hedging. So that was one thing I wanted to say about Neo. I can't remember what the other things were, but let's just look at Mara too. Everyone's always trying to work out why is Mara sold so short. You see these things up on the internet and on Twitter about how many people are short them. The people who are short them are market makers. That's why they're short them. Its gamma is now very low. It's being dragged down with all of these miners, and that's because relatively they just produce nothing. If Bitcoin's not producing anything, they produce nothing. They use a whole lot of power, so there's also fears in an inflationary market from people that it isn't worth holding them. And I think that one of our problems is we live within the hype of thinking they're going to happen. Well, don't think they're going to happen. Just look for data where it's going to happen and trade that data. These are pretty untradeable unless you see periods like this. I mean, have a look at this. Have a look at the buy signals in it. Have a look at the DPI, the load up in it. That is just sensational. And I mean, you can go and look at it. In liquidity. It's going to look exactly the same because DPI and liquidity have been formed by the same thing. We just have a look at this tightening here. All right, yeah, we did the other day. We did almost get a blow off there because we all thought that Bitcoin was going to go up, and that was a legitimate place to load up. But there's been no legitimate place to load up in this apart from that one section. I mean, eat my words. I hope it turns around for everyone because I've goofed it now. But have a look how tight this is. It's never going to jump. I'd love to see Bitcoin go up a little bit for all of us, but it isn't. Bitcoin isn't what everyone makes it out to be. And Trump and all of those people can say whatever they like. The market has told us that gold is its product and it wants gold. You look, gold's just having a reversal. It's bouncing around. It's at one of these extensions at the moment. A fib extension, and that's why it's stuck there, and look, it's going to be stuck in that area, I would say, for 2 weeks. So I'm not going to touch it, maybe even 3 weeks. Might drop out of it, but I can't see much happening. We can see that it's got to a position where it's now loosened up, and we're starting to see it loose again after having a great strong trading period. And I missed this because I was looking at stupid meme stocks and other things that just have theta burn. You've got to look at things that don't have theta burn in them. Alright, I've bored you all enough. Thank you very much. I'll be back. I'm definitely doing one on Tuesday, and I'll post this one now. I hope it wasn't too boring. That's my job. It is pretty boring. I go through and I look for dirty footprints, and sometimes we get them really quickly, and sometimes I get them wrong, but that's because I'm looking for so many of them. But if you want to have a look at market direction, look at my VIX every day. I'll tell you if the bonds are going to change a lot. If the bonds are going to change a lot, obviously we're going to get a direction change in the market. The bonds are holding, and that's why the IWM and the Russell are terrible at the moment. All right, have a great week's trading, and I'll put up some more videos about different things during the week, and I'll see you DIY and essentials, and anyone else who wants to come and watch who's a subscriber. I'll be doing another one on Thursday, 2 hours after market close. As you can see, they go for an extended period of time, but I'd love to have you join and ask any questions you want while we're live. Thanks a lot.